Hello, my friends. We are live. We are back again. We have a special Monday night edition. CJ was feeling under the weather, so instead of the Nick and CJ show, we have a special like propaganda report, a Monday night show with my boy Kahmali.
What's up,
So
folks?
I'm looking forward to doing this. This should be fun. Kahmali, what's up, man?
What's going on, Nick? Always great to be here with you.
Yeah, we got a few stories to go over. If you guys did not get a chance, check out because there's been so much going on. I've been crashing everyone's shows. Check out JB show. I was on the show on Sunday. We had a good time. Um, there was a lot of laughs that episode. I mean, we talk about very serious subjects, but it's also important to have fun because Dr. Cornel West himself said you gotta have soul in your movement. You know what I mean? This is
Yep.
at the end of the day, you only live one time. I think we have to do our best to fight, but what's the point if we're not laughing and have fun along the way? Saturday. I hope you guys enjoyed the new Saturday show. Like I said, the last episode I did on Saturday was kind of like a pilot. I was trying to see how this fit in my schedule, but I had fun with you guys. So look forward to more Saturday, just more like me ranting and talking to you guys more in the chat. So make sure you guys check out my Saturday show. Once again, you guys see the title of this video. I title my videos in a very specific way to get a point across. So on Saturday, I titled my video "Eat the Rich to Save the Climate," right? And most moderate people would think that saying "eat the rich" is like a strain. And my point, and I broke it down over the course of 90 minutes. If you're not serious, if you're not actually advocating for class warfare against the rich, yep, I'm using scary language again, guys. If you're not advocating for that, you're not actually serious about the climate crisis because in that stream I broke down how they are literally responsible for like 97% of the emissions. Like they got to cut back 90%, 97%. I broke down many different numbers on why they like we instead of putting the like onus on the working class like the liberals do, put it on the ruling class. Like they're the one polluting. The military, they're the largest polluters. Kamala, any thoughts before I start ranting some more?
No, I mean this is all, stuff that we gotta, just keep repeating until folks, all across the board are, get this sinks in with them. Like this is just a part of developing a media literacy. You got to be able to spot out, the reality in all of these stories, and and be able to come in with an objective point of view. And so yeah, it's not hyperbolic, I think, to say liberals and conservatives are very close on most issues, and so to highlight that is a necessary step along the way of radicalizing folks across the board. And so I was a liberal 5 years ago, and it was through shows like this and being presented with facts like these that you start to wake up to it and open your eyes to this stuff. And so if you can go from if I can go from liberal to anarchist in 5 years, then I'm sure there's plenty of other folks out there that are still watching the mainstream media and corporate media and still buying into that. And so we got to keep doing this work until folks wake up and realize what's going on out here. So I don't think it's hyperbolic at all.
Yeah, like I said, I use shocking language just to get people attention, and I know I can be very very left, right? I know I can be very anti-establishment, but it wasn't. I didn't reach my conclusions in a comfortable manner. Like it wasn't easy for me to reach the conclusion that Barack Obama wasn't the guy I thought he was, right? Like that was one of them hard conclusions. Like I'm probably one of the hardest people on the progressives of Bernie Sanders, but people know what I did for their campaign. I didn't reach those conclusions, and it wasn't one of the things like how I got you. Like it was a painful conclusion to make. But hey, you can't be fake. You got to call it how you see it. Thank you for the $10, David. Appreciate that. So you guys see the title of the video, right? So let's provoke discussion. So I know I'll bring this up all the time, but I got so much shit right for 2020 because if you follow my very short activism that I've been involved in, I quit my job and I went to canvas for Bernie Sanders. I did that because once again, I mentioned before the climate crisis. Like I believe like that was the last chance we had just to put policies in place so we can start surviving like not to stop the climate crisis, just so we can start like living under it, right? And I still have no regrets. even though I got a lot of criticism of Bernie uh, for work on his campaign, because we use these electoral politics moments as a way to shift the countries to the to the country to the left. We shift our neighborhoods to the left, right? So a lot of the people who follow the Bernie campaign, a lot of the boutique progressives, they saw my like citizen journalism on the ground while talking about how flipping people to support left ideas, Medicare frauds. I was telling stories on my channel and on Twitter about how I will convince like conservative black people in South Carolina to support left ideas. So a lot of these people are like, oh yeah, social system. I'm glad. I love the work you're doing, right? But then Bernie dropped out, and then I did what I thought was obvious, right? Okay, the social democrat approach, the electoral politics approach of making the much needed reforms that we need, that didn't work. So our option now is to shift further to the left, focus more on community, stop worshiping politicians. We said that Bernie was the compromise candidate, so let's shift further to the left. That was my mindset, right? And I'm gonna get you right in here, Kahmali. That was my mindset. But it shocked and dismayed me to see the entire progressive base actually kind of take the opposite approach, where instead of actually doubling down and shifting to the left, like I'm very open about my development. Like I on my channel, I talk about like, oh shit, I'm gonna read this theory I never read before. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know about this guy. Like I was literally like categorizing my shift to the left, and I thought everyone would do that, but people was like, oh, we're gonna turn to Biden bros. We're gonna turn to incrementalists, right? So I'll pass to you, Kahmali, with this preface. Like, what was your path like during the time? I assume you support Bernie, but kind of give us what you went through during that time, like around Bernie jumped out, and how you shifted to the left, if so, if you did.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I was a hardcore Bernie supporter. I went in, I was doing volunteer work. I was driving from Boston up to New Hampshire because that's a swing state. Massachusetts was pretty much, we knew it was going to go, towards Bernie's direction. We had Elizabeth Warren here, obviously. So, I knew I was the hope was that she would drop out, by the time it got around to our state, if she wasn't the clear leader, and she wasn't at the time, but she did not drop out. And we all know how badly that burned Bernie, no pun intended. So, I was out there volunteering, me bringing folks up, knocking doors in New Hampshire, meeting all kinds of folks. And then the pandemic hit, Bernie dropped out. We saw that Monday night massacre where Obama came in and put his his thumb on the scale, and then the rest is history, obviously. And then from there, that's right around the time that I had started my own channel, and trying to do what I could to promote the Bernie wave and everything. And I had been interviewed by Jordan Sheridan of Status Quo just as a volunteer for Bernie, just randomly. And so just being on that appearance and seeing the response that I got from people about my appearance on there, I was like, you know what, let me just start. People wanted to hear more about what I had to say, so I started up the channel, and that was really the catalyst for me starting the channel, was Bernie in that campaign. And then obviously, we saw, as Bernie dropped out and Biden became the front runner and the obvious nominee, I started to do the work that I could to try to tell people, like, listen, you can't just, I got all kinds of videos talking about how we can't just give up our vote. I ultimately did not vote for Biden. I told people very clearly, much to, their chagrin, that I wasn't gonna do it. I wasn't gonna vote for this, this white supremacist fucking, dude who had jailed millions of my folks through his ridiculous, just racist policies. There was all kinds of, he had similar rhetoric to Trump, honestly. And I like how you say often that, these folks that are like the Trumpists, that like, I can't understand why they don't like Biden. Like, y'all should love this man. Like, they're two sides of the same coin, right? So, I tried to do my part to try to speak to Black people and let them know we gotta leverage our vote. We can't give up our vote like that. And we gotta vote third party if we have to at that point. And then we saw, We saw what happened with the squad. I was a longtime AOC supporter. I helped get her elected. I did volunteer work, all that kind of stuff. And then the force the vote hit, and that was really the breaking point. You can see the video on my channel still. I went out there days before the force the vote. The vote was supposed to happen. I said, listen, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. We had 3 overlapping crises. We had a once in 100-year pandemic, nothing like this since 1918 for a public health crisis. We had a once in 100-year economic crisis, nothing like this since the Great Depression. And we had a once in over 100-year, well over 100-year margin in Congress, in the House. We had the tightest margin since I think it was 1887 in the House of Representatives. So we had a unique opportunity to leverage power for the people that the progressives that we got elected. And I saw all of them turn their back on the people. And I said at that moment, if they couldn't do this now, nothing they do will help the suffering people, the millions and millions of people that are suffering right now. If you couldn't get it during, couldn't get Medicare for all in the middle of a public health crisis, couldn't get a measly ass $15 minimum wage in the middle of an economic recession, then these people were going to fail us over and over again. And we had to stop spending so much time, so much energy, so much money on these Democrats, and surely the Republican Party wasn't about to be the way that we go. We cannot. I mean, that's absurd. They got far less to offer. Over that time, it took me about another 4 to 6 months to swing all the way from thinking third party to just saying, you know what? Fuck electoral politics altogether. We got to start to hit it through mutual aid, through direct action, and getting out in the streets and doing whatever the hell, building up our communities and going directly to the people. Because we they said existential crises, but they ain't acting like their existence is threatened. And that was what frustrated me the most, honestly, was just the lack of urgency. And I saw just a complete lack of urgency by the same people that had run on these defund the police and all types of platforms.
Yeah, there's a few comments I'm gonna get to. There for a few good points you brought up. I was going through some comments. I want to see your take on this as well. This is some pushback. This guy said, no, Nick, the wealthy class is not responsible for climate change. The system is. Who runs the system?
Come on.
Next.
Yeah, it's the capitalist class. Come on, man. You crazy? What the fuck? There's literally like a handful of people. I think they named like 10 companies that are responsible for like 90% of carbon emissions. So to say it's not the wealthy, you're tripping, bro.
Watch my stream, guys. My first episode's on Saturday. I highlight how much the ruling class pollutes our environment. Like, people think it's us. People think banning plastic straws. And once again, I am for lifestyle changes. I'm down, guys. In order to have our human society advance as long as it can. But why are you guys asking the proletariat? Why are you guys asking the working class to do stuff like stop eating meat, stop driving cars, things they need to do in order to survive? But the rich, you guys are not even bringing up the fact that they are the climate crisis enablers. They are the reasons why we got the climate crisis. And I no need for me to get into it again, because I just did a stream on Saturday. Check it out. I had receipts, guys. I had receipts. What was another one? There was another good comment I saw. Let me find it. But I think someone was asking. Here it is, Patrick. How did y'all break people out?
How do y'all?
Sorry. How do y'all break people out if the cult of AOC Bernie Sanders? You know what he's saying there? How do y'all break?
Yeah, how do you break people out of the cult of like AOC and Bernie Sanders? Like, how do you get people to wake up and like, yeah.
Okay, so I have a take on that.
Yep, jump in. Yep.
I personally got out of it because I was a big believer in taking over the Democrat Party. Like, once again, I didn't take down none of my videos. Like, if you guys are interested, you guys can see I think I had a pretty anti-establishment take from it, though, because there still was a very big divide on the left. And I'm gonna get to a point that Kahmali made earlier. I'm gonna get to that I'm gonna touch on that very soon, guys. Hold that thought. But I was like, all right, if we can at least try to take over the party with these people can at least challenge the Democratic Party establishment. And I remember after Bernie dropped out, even when I was really hard on Bernie, I was like, all right, let's see. because we haven't seen what happened with Bernie and the squad if they are challenging a Democratic Party establishment, right? So we seen Bernie and the squad, we seen them gain power when Donald Trump was president, right? And it's easy to sound anti-establishment. We had the big boogeyman, Republican in charge. It's easy to push the Overton window to the left, abolish ICE, Medicare for all, defund the police. It's easy to say that when the Republicans are in charge. So I said, and you guys can look at my tweet, I said, I'm watching you guys. I said, and actually, I was to the right of a lot of my friends. Because a lot of my friends at the time, they was like, fuck Bernie Sanders, fuck AOC. And last year, I was like, I'm not even at that point right now. I'm going to see what they do when Biden get in charge. If they put Biden to the left, like they said they would do, I would give them props. Like imagine if Bernie Sanders actually pushed Joe Biden to cancel student loans. Imagine if Bernie Sanders actually pushed Joe Biden to implement a public option. Like I would give him props if he did that. But we're not even getting that. We're not even getting incrementalism. We're going to the right. Kamala, you got something you want to add? Because I still got a lot of thoughts, but I'll let you chime in.
I mean, I second and third everything that you said. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, I wanted these people to succeed. Like I didn't spend 2 years of my life and thousands of dollars of my money because I thought it was gonna lose. You know, I wanted this thing to succeed desperately. Like I want people to have Medicare for all. You know, I want everybody in this country to have health care, health insurance. You know, like it's like of course I wanted them to. You know, I want a $25 minimum wage, fuck a $15 minimum wage. You know, like I want these things absolutely. You know, and I wish they would have proved me wrong. I said it in the video that I, you know, in all the videos I did, I said, please, I hope they prove me wrong. I hope they prove me wrong. But time after time after time, even down to this latest infrastructure bill, it's all political theater, and it's a means of, you know, it's just a way of distracting us and keeping us our eyes over here instead of focused on, you know, the work that we really have to do, which is hard work. But it's grassroots, bottom up, and it ain't, you know, I know some folks still say, you know, local politics. I mean, I'm in Massachusetts and my state politics is garbage. Even my city politics. I consider electoral politics harm reduction at this point. Show up every 2-4 years, cast your little vote, and then get back to the real work that we got to do, you know. But we can't be spending, you know, all of our time honed in on these electoral races where it's at the end of the day, most people's lives. Again, you still can go out there, you can cast your vote, but the reality at the end of the day is like we don't need to spend, you know, 2 years of our time on an election when it takes, you know, 60 seconds for every person to essentially cast a vote, although we know, you know, some lines and all this types of shit that they do to try to, you know, suppress the vote and stuff. But still, you know, it's a 1 day thing, not a 1 year thing. And the other 364 days of the year, the question is, you know, what are we doing then to, you know, build our movements, to grow our, you know, to grow dual power, to you know, to help the people? That's the real question.
So I'll let you guys be the judge of my development, right? Because I just did some oppo research on myself. I'll show you guys what I was saying, and I'll let you guys like. And now, based on my old tweets here, am I being unreasonable? Because once again, this is December. I say I am critical of Bernie recently, but nothing makes me more happy when he does well. I am hoping he becomes Biden's #1 enemy during his administration. This is the stuff I was saying back then. Mm-hmm. I want Bernie to be the #1 enemy of the Democrats in the next 4 years. I want liberals to be seething at him every week. You guys see how liberals are seething at like Jimmy Dore and Tucker Carlson every single day? That should be Bernie Sanders. Like to be that, like if he was actually challenging the Biden administration, they should be mad at him every single day for something he said that's critical of the Democratic Party. But instead, only thing he's doing is fighting for the Biden agenda. So once again, if you look at my old tweets, I am not trying to attack these people in bad faith. Look at this. Look what I said. I said I may be delusional, but I'm still holding out hope that Bernie just had Trump derangement syndrome and will snap out of it if Biden. And will be Biden's largest resistance. So I was saying I want him to be the largest resistance organizer, and I want him to push Biden because I knew that Biden would be evil. I knew it. So I'm like, okay, I will forgive Bernie for all my criticism if he would challenge the Democrats. Because remember, he ran on challenging the Democratic Party establishment. He ran it on that. He didn't run on just having Trump derangement syndrome, just only focusing on attacking Republicans. They abandoned their mandate, not us. We didn't abandon them. They abandoned us. They chose the Democrats. So that covers that. Any last thoughts on this topic, Kahmali?
I'll just say, if folks want to see, just to, someone else, somebody completely different, back up Nick's point as far as the fact that it's always when they're out of power that they will use the harshest rhetoric, and sound like they're the most progressive. But as soon as they come into power, they instantly shrink back to what they really believe in. We find out what they really believe in. Check out Chang Sim Lim's appearance at the People's Party, the People's Party Summit, and she talked about her work when she worked, with the Obama administration, trying to, supposedly fight for universal health care. And she saw all of their rhetoric. She talked about, how all their rhetoric was, universal health care, this, and every American covered that. But as soon as they came into power, she immediately saw that all evaporate, and saw that they were really not about, fighting for those things. And they were just using that rhetoric to try to garner votes. And so we gotta wake up to this stuff and stop, because they'll get us every 2-4 years, and they'll have us thinking, oh, the next one's going to be different. And at this stage, like, I honestly, like if Bernie runs or something in 2024, yeah, maybe I go out there for that day. I'm not going to talk about it. Who knows, but odds are at this stage, sadly, I just don't believe that Bernie, from all the rhetoric that he's used, like, I can't even believe that if he were elected, that anything would change, that anything would be different. So, I'll say I'll think about it, but I probably won't. I'm being real. I just can't do it anymore, because it's a joke. It's meant to pull our time, and they try to pull somebody just, with the right amount of rhetoric to pull us all in and sheep herd us back into the Democratic Party or into electoral politics, especially national electoral politics. And then same shit, they pull the rug up from underneath us, and then they'll use that to depress, people for the next 4 to 10 to 12 to how many years, when they say, look at how crushing it was and nothing really changes. So we got to start to think differently. That's the reality.
Yeah, well said. And I want to go back to this comment. I'm sorry. This one right here, from Butler. It says we responded to him earlier. And my response to this is fair point. Fair enough. I agree with you there. No, Nick, the system is the problem. You must change capitalism. But the only thing I would say is who controls the flow of capital. That's what I'm talking about. Like, you gotta be able to identify your enemy. You can't just say rah rah, I want to destroy capitalism. Who are you talking about? We're talking about the capitalists. We're talking about the Elon Musk. We're talking about the Walton family. We're talking about the military-industrial complex. So it's easy just to say capitalism, but name your enemies. I wanted to say names. I want to say the CIA. I want to say the police, the LAPD, Michael Bloomberg, Bill Gates, who bought out. You guys know Bill Gates spent millions of dollars giving money to MSNBC, CNN, local news organizations. So Bill Gates not only buying up farmland and monopolizing the production of food, he's now trying to monopolize the flow of information. So why are you protecting the ruling class, Butler? It's capitalism plus the rich. Yep. You know what I mean? Yep. So anyway, I will say fair enough to your comments, because I do agree with you.
Yeah.
You must change capitalism, but identify your enemy.
Exactly. Know who it is that is upholding capitalism, that is doing all of the crucial work to continue to uphold it. Of course, we got to decolonize our minds and decapitalize our minds, and break ourselves out of that sort of all that capitalist mindset. And we got to really start to define capitalism. What is capitalism? Because a lot of people, you talk about capitalism, talk about anti-capitalism, and at the end of the day, they go home thinking that capitalism is about markets or is about money systems, or, no. It's the employer-employee relationship, bottom line. And that's what we got to work on changing. That's what we got to do the work to change, because that's what makes capitalism unique? We had markets under slavery. We had markets under feudalism. There were merchants under feudalism. There was a slave market. There was a cotton market. There was a tobacco market. Like there were markets still under these other economic systems. So that's not what makes capitalism unique. What makes it unique is the way that we relate to one another in the workplace, in that micro level. And that's what we got to do to change. So when we talk about capitalism, we got to start to really get real specific. Of course, it's the wealthiest among us. It's not just the 1%. Let's be real. You know, there's a lot of folks that are in that top 10%. Let's be all the way honest. That get to, you know, they're the millionaires. They donate to political candidates. They buy the politicians. Some of that at different levels, of course, but we got to be real. It is absolutely the rich. And, you know, as Nick said earlier, you know, I mean, we can tax the rich or we can eat them. It's their choice, really. You know, that's the real deal.
All right, I'll let you have the last word because that was a good intro. You guys know how I like to do my streams. I like to get warmed up with a good like theological debate or whatever, right? So let me pick off on what son Kahmali said because this relates to the first story that we uncovered today. One thing you mentioned Elizabeth Warren, right? And this is I was telling you guys like my reaction post Bernie Sanders dropping out. So let's start off there. And then we've seen this giant divide that like had a lot of people shook, right? Like forced to vote shook a lot of people. And it made a lot of people upset because a lot of people came to the conclusion that I have came with a long time ago. That and people call me divisive for bringing this up. That there is a class divide on the left and there is a giant divide on the left. And Elizabeth Warren was one of the biggest tells because there's people who are actually true Marxists, anti-capitalists, anti-imperialists who immediately like sniffed out the weasel that is Elizabeth Warren. And I was one of them. And I still remember like the amount of people who were Bernie supporters even. Like this is the leftist best crowd, the majority report crowd, the TYT crowd, whatever, right? These people who was propping up Elizabeth Warren when she was always an imperialist. Her answer to the climate crisis was let's invest into green bombs. She voted for Trump's military budgets. She voted for Trump trade deals. She literally declined to back Bernie Sanders for a Hillary Clinton vice president's spot. And then you guys forgave her for that. And then she did the same thing again in 2020. She thought she was going to get a vice president slot under Biden. And then she stabbed you guys in the back again. And now they want to pretend that you guys wasn't backing her up. But once again, this is one of those divides. I still remember like people getting upset with me when I called her out because once again, she still was a white woman who lied about being indigenous. I didn't even mention that part yet. Like there were so many red flags about regarding Elizabeth Warren, but that was someone the boutique left loved. And you noticed, and I'm gonna get to the story here very soon. You notice the people who also was fans of Elizabeth Warren was also the same people who was against forced to vote. These were the same people who told you to vote for Joe Biden. Are you guys seeing this pattern? These are the same people who attacked the General Strike Summit. The people who was Elizabeth Warren fans, the people who advocated for voting for Joe Biden, the people who said that we are red, brown lions, that we are like people call me secret right wingers because I accurately said that Joe Biden is just like Trump. Now, I built this up enough. You guys see the title of this video. Now, this has been going around. And there's so many ways that we can back this up because this has essentially been my reporting. Oh, sorry. I blew it. This one. This one right here. This has been essentially my reporting ever since I got a platform. People worry that moderate Democrats like Joe Biden are the same as Republicans. Our studies suggest they may be right. Men who refer themselves as moderate or centrist score basically the same on values and opinions as people who identify themselves as conservatives. I cannot believe, Kahmali, that it takes a study for people to come to this conclusion. Do you have
for real, right?
Before I dive into the story, I got a lot of thoughts, but I want to get in before I dive into more. Any thoughts?
Yeah, no, this is something that I try to, you know, I try to talk about constantly. It's when people start to talk about, you know, right versus left, I think we got to draw clear distinctions about what these really are. And when we talk about liberals and conservatives, we shouldn't be talking about them as left or right. They are both centrist. That is it. All right. Liberals and conservatives in America are really both just centrist. All right. And they'll bicker over a teeny little issue over here or an issue over here. And at the end of the day, they don't really give a fuck about where the chips fall on any of that shit, as long as their corporate donors continue to get the tax breaks and all that type of bullshit. As long as the ruling class stays ruling, they are perfectly fine with this. So these folks that try to, you know, position themselves as left wing or right wing, you know, it's a joke. They're two sides of the same coin. Liberal and conservative. Look at it historically. You know, these things, they are, go down the list of issues. They line up. Oh, where do they stand on war? Look at them. They're both, you know, Brian Williams on MSNBC. Oh, look at these beautiful bombs, you know, these beautiful missiles, you know, like they cheer war. They go on, you know, whoever is in power, they continue their forever wars. You know, this is we got to get real. They both serve the capitalist ruling class. Okay, let's be all the way real. They serve the employer capitalist ruling class. Period.
Right, so we just getting started here. And once again, this study has said what black leftists have been saying from day one. I was smeared by Vosh. I was smeared by San. I was smeared by the biggest names on progressive shit-lib media spaces for saying what I have said. Then I don't know why I keep putting that one up. So anyway, so black leftists have been saying it in my entire life, but also our revolutionary leaders. Where do you guys think I get my ideology from? I'm an MLK leftist. I'm a Fred Hampton leftist. I'm a Malcolm X leftist. According to his observations made by MLK in his letter from Birmingham jail, I have reached a regrettable conclusion that the great stumbling block in the stride toward freedom is not the white citizen and counselor or the KKK, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than justice. Now, that's all well and good. Now, we talking about theory, right? But what does the data show? I'm gonna try to curate this as best as I can here, because they was asking people pretty much their political ideology, and they found like people who are politically moderate, like these are people who are literally, they will say stuff like, "Oh, I'm socially conservative, but I'm socially liberal, but I'm fiscally conservative." Like when you ask these people where they stand on economic issues, see, strikingly in almost every single case, now they actually talking about like economics, hard issues here. The responses of moderate men are very similar to conservative men and women. Their level of agreement with their statement is as much as 14% lower than moderate women, who are more likely than men to lean Democratic. So what they're saying, well, we already knew when you look at Joe Biden, and there's one correction I want to make to the story, and you guys see why I titled my video the way I did. If you look at the title of the video is Democrats just as bad as Republicans. You guys see that I didn't use that unicorn of a term, moderate. When they use the term moderate, and even when reporting on the study in the media, once again, this is us even critiquing good media stories from the left. Because I'll consider this a good media story, because it's a critique showing, it's actually a study that's showing that both these people who vote Democrat and Republican, they believe mostly the same thing that we always was saying, right? But even they use the term moderate. What is that? What is moderate about funding the military more? That expanding our endless wars. The average American wants to end our wars. Joe Biden is expanding the wars. Republicans, if you ask Republican voters, they are to the left of Joe Biden on criminal justice, because the majority of Republicans want to decriminalize marijuana. Joe Biden is still continuing the war on drugs as we speak right now. In fact, he expanded it. So the Republican voters, if you ask them in polls, 1 out of 3 of them support Medicare for all. The vast majority of Republicans support a public option. So the vast majority of Republican voters are to Joe Biden's left. So what is this moderate term you guys are using? Joe Biden Do not get it twisted. And once again, I have a controversial take on this, right? If you compare it to the mainstream political establishment, Joe Biden is not a moderate. He's a extreme far right winger. He is a Ronald Reagan Democrat, meaning he is literally on the same level of the Overton window as Ronald Reagan. And I am not, there's no hyperbole, that is dead ass fact. So my critique of a lot of people's interpretation of MLK's, and I'll get Kahmali's take on this as well, because I think I'm outside the box on here. My take on his quote is that he is not referring to Joe Biden. MLK is not referring to Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi, because they are the enemy that must be defeated. They are not the moderate. They're referring to the progressive boutique left. They're referring to the Bernie Sanders, the progressives. They say, oh, we support defund the police. But when time comes to it, they vote to give the Capitol Police more money. So Biden is not the moderate they're talking about. They're talking about the people who pretend to be on our side. The people who pretend to be on our side, the Nina Turners, the AOCs, the Cori Bushes. These are people that pretend to be on our side, but when push comes to shove, they will side with Jim Crow Joe over us. Kahmali, do you agree with me? I mean, you can. Do you agree, disagree? Like, where do you stand on this?
Absolutely, no. I absolutely agree, and I you know, I should be more careful with what I say sometimes, because I say they're centrist, and I mean that to say that they are, most of them
I
really don't give a fuck.
Like, I
like they will toe this line of, pretending like they give a little bit of, like one fuck about some sort of minor social issue over here or there, that tries to lend them some credibility. But the reality is they are absolutely right wing by all intents and measures. If we look at this, and this is me getting too caught up in an American centric perspective sometimes, because if you look at this from a global perspective, it's not even close. These are two right-wing parties that masquerade as being, they vary from centrist to, some calling this, calling the Democratic Party left wing is just, that's absurdity to me. And so, when
Republicans
you said
that Joe Biden's a Marxist, guys, that's how.
I mean, even saying that Joe Biden is as right wing as Ronald Reagan isn't even quite accurate. Like Ronald Reagan was to the left of Joe Biden on some issues. Let's not forget that it was Ronald Reagan that proposed
on that.
He proposed amnesty. All right. That was Ronald Reagan. All right. That same guy, Ronald Reagan, the throat goat's husband. Yes, that Ronald Reagan. That is who, was out here talking about amnesty for illegal immigrants, as the right wing likes to call them, in the the Democratic Party all too often likes to pick up and run with that as well. And so it's Joe Biden. There's clips of Joe Biden going back talking about, you can't build a fence tall enough, they're gonna come over, they're gonna bring their drugs, and so it's the same shit. It was the same, and I highlighted that stuff, that he's not that far from Donald Trump, and Donald Trump used to be a Democrat. That's why I just say these are two sides of the same coin. They can so easily waver from one side to the other. We had Dixiecrats like Dianne Feinstein, who's not around now, but she's still represented all throughout there in that party. And so, these people are they used to, Dianne Feinstein used to wave the Confederate flag. She had the Confederate flag waving. So Reagan was offered, amnesty to millions of undocumented immigrants. And here we got Joe Biden out here. Look at the treatment of migrants at the border, of Haitian immigrants in particular. A lot of we get caught up a lot too talking about Latino immigrants, and while yes, that is certainly an issue. Not enough is said about the fact that the majority of people that are locked up are Black folks, and it's Afro Latinos in particular, through colorist racist policies and our racist border policies that they catch the brunt of it. So this is something that can't be understated. You had the deporter in chief under Obama, and Joe Biden has just picked up and run with those same policies. We saw dudes on horseback with whips. Like these images are not from people, the same all these kids are still in cages. The only difference is that people of, the liberals in the Democratic, Democratic Party constituency has by and large gone off to brunch on this, and they just don't, they don't really care about these issues. And so, or they're just not aware of it, to be honest. And they still buy into the propaganda that their party is somehow better than the Republican Party, when really they're just playing a game. It's all a game. They do the the rotating villain that we've talked about so many times, where they pick a bad guy, Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema. This is all political theater, and we gotta be able to spot it out and get past it so that we can get to the real work.
What's that, Kahmali? It's 100% political theater. And I think over the course of 40 minutes, you guys see why this title is not an exaggeration. Democrats, aka not moderates, like that article was saying, Democrats are just as bad as Republicans. Now, there was a comment, I'm sorry I lost it, but there was a comment earlier that was like, Trump actually gave more COVID relief than Biden. He gave more money, and technically, Trump kept student loans canceled. Joe Biden is the one who is bringing back the debt economy. Check this out. Now, everyone is now on the same page I am now. Because this dropped today, and I have been monitoring the reaction of this. And Kahmali, I'm extremely excited because it was actually, it's funny how Joe Biden was actually the seller's candidate. Because I see people that are like, I'm done. I will show you guys. I can find the tweets for you guys. In response to this story, Biden won't extend student loan relief and confirms the debt economy will continue February 1st. And I have seen blue checks. I have seen the same people who smeared me for warning you guys about Biden, saying I'm done. I don't know why this is the straw that broke the camel's back. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, but there's something about this story in particular that really pisses people off, because people are struggling, and now they gotta pay that extra $100 and a few $100 now per month now.
Mine is like 1,000. Mine is like 1,000. That's about to hit. It's over $800 a month.
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, it's like $900 a month. Yeah.
Jesus, man. Like, so because my income level deferments, I was able to get mine down to like 200, 300, but I know some people probably can't get down that low. So, we can go through the responses. I didn't have them saved, but it was very interesting, man. Like, I seen people who I never seen buck the Democrats say, we're done. I'm not voting 2022, 2024 because of this. And my title, hyperbolic now. Biden want to keep the debt economy going. Kahmali, what's your thoughts?
Oh, I mean, he literally was nicknamed the senator from MNA, which is a credit card, company, or MBNA, sorry. And so this dude is absolutely, he is in the pocket of, the banking industry, and has been his entire career. So the idea that this dude was going to come in and give some relief to everyday people, and go against the wishes, benefit of his owners, the folks that own this dude, was absurd for us to ever, for anyone to ever think that this guy was going to be the one that pulled people up out of any serious economic pain. Is absurd. This dude is in the pocket of the banking industry. This is nothing that anyone that is, has the time to invest into paying attention to this stuff should be surprised by. This dude is corrupt to his absolute core. I think there's a video of this dude talking about how, like joke. I'll try to pull it up. Of him joking about, how he would love to be like bought and bribed by these people. And yeah, so let's not be surprised by this.
Yeah, and sorry, come on, I know I went long in this story, but this is the last thing I'll share. And then I know you got a few things you want to get into. I'm not too focused on time restraints. I just want to get the stories done, right? So that's my mindset. Let's go through the stories. If you gotta go, we can do that. But I usually want to just get through the story. I got one last thing to share, and then we just share the stories, and then we can maybe do a Q&A wrap up. So I have this I want to share. And I know, guys, I could be an asshole, but you guys don't understand. Like, I know it's easy to separate yourself from this, but from being an activist who had a ton of people who show a lot of support and love for the work I did, and all some people are smearing me as right wingers. Like, dude, it was crazy, bro. It was crazy being a black leftist activist and being smeared as a right winger because I didn't want to support Jim Crow Joe. And I told you guys the responses out this tweet were crazy. And I want to show you guys this out as an example to wrap this story up about how Democrats are just like Republicans. I don't know this person that I don't know them. He a blue check, but I saw this. This is a pretty big tweet here. In response to this, once again, the response of this story was almost unlike, like even worse than the kids in cages that Biden keeping. Like, people are really upset on Biden about this. For whatever reason, this was the straw that broke the camel's back, right? So this guy said, "Yeah, I'm good on voting till the two-party system is gone." And I've seen a lot of tweets like this, man, from people who don't like. I don't see. I went through a time. I don't see any evidence of like communist activity, right? Like, I think these like I see a lot of normal people now starting like, "Yo, I'm done. I'm done with this shit." And this is what I was saying, like last year. So welcome. I'm glad that you guys are finally welcome to the party. I wish. I mean, too bad the people who like got mad and attacked me. I would love to get the apologies, right? Because I said this was gonna happen. So I'm sorry. I gotta be a dick. Yeah, I gotta be. I gotta say I told you so. I'm sorry, but the reason I'm not doing that just to be an asshole. We gotta destroy the myth of the lesser of two evils. So me being an asshole, me being a dick, and coming out here and tell you guys I told you so. You shouldn't have voted for Jim Crow Joe. That is me preparing you for 2022, for 2024. I'm trying to stop you from funding to us. Like, imagine donating to the Democrat politicians. People are still doing that. So what do I got to do? I got to keep bringing this up until you guys stick. Like, a lot of people, I remember, and I said it at the time. People got mad at me when I said this. In 2016, people was like, hell no, not voting for Hillary Clinton. But at the end of the day, they broke. They broke. The establishment got them shook. And then I remember in 2020, the same thing. People were saying the same thing. I'm not going to find it. I don't got time. But I remember I tweeted at the time, like, bro, I tell you, the same people that said that they hashtag no middle ground, they're going to break again. They're going to fold. They're going to allow Trump derangement syndrome to convince them that Joe Biden is not who they say they are. And they did. They broke. The Green Party got 0.3% of the votes out of the entire Bernie movement. That means the United States left was broke and tamed by the Democratic Party. It's embarrassing. What other language can I use, Kahmali? Like, once again, the Green Party not perfect, but 0.3% compared to the giant Bernie movement. A giant percent. Remember, more Bernie supporters vote for Hillary than Hillary supporters vote for Obama. The U.S. left is constantly broken and tamed by the Democratic Party. So I have to do segments like this so people can wake up and have some goddamn self-respect.
Yep, absolutely.
And then we wrap the segment. I'll give you last thoughts.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just, it's become such an exhausting thing to have to even, talk about at this point, because it feels so obvious that, like, just think about it from, your own personal standpoint. What has changed in your life? How much better is your life now under Joe Biden than it was, under Donald Trump? You take away the mean tweets, and that's all that's changed, really, but it's the same policies. The minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour in this country. More people, out of work now. We had, nothing has fundamentally changed. We don't have any kind of universal healthcare system in the midst of a global pandemic. Student loan debt is just gone up. I know that, for so many people, they just, they were able to defer, but deferment is not relief. It's just pushing something off, kicking the can down the road. And that's all they'll do is just kick the can a little bit further down the road till it's somebody else in power to kick it a little bit further. And so, eviction moratoriums, look at what happened. People, those things came up and went, and, the squad slept outside for a night, and then they were right back into their cushy homes. And and we haven't heard a word about this shit from them since. And so people continue to struggle and suffer, and we got to start to think of other ways. And as much as I'll rail against the two-party system all day, but I just honestly don't believe that a third party is going to be our solution at this point, because one, the two-party system is already so rotten in this country. It's gotten its latch hold in. There's not much that we're going to be able to do about that. I mean, even if we change to a third-party system, look at countries all around the world that got more than three parties. Like two parties is terrible. It's awful, because we really got, it's really a one-party system masquerading as a two-party system. I forget if it was Josana or somebody who said that, it's like the U.S. has a one-party system, but in typical decadent American fashion, they got two of them.
So let's explore. We pretty much done with the next segment. Let's explore this just for a little bit, and then we'll get in your segment, because I always was torn on this, because I voted for Joe Stein in 2016. I voted for the Green Party in 2020. And I told you guys before, I didn't pick you guys on this network to agree with me. I didn't pick you guys to be on this network to be like, yeah, I support third party too. And I remember, like, once again, I had communists on my stream from day one. like even before I was comfortable even saying I was a communist. Like even back when I was like in this, like, I think I'm more of a social democrat. Like I can say that kind of shit. I still have Rome on my stream though. Like I still had those people on my stream, and they used to be like, yo, Nick, I know you like the Green Party, but bro, third party not gonna lead to revolution. I'm like, I hear you, bro. But what am I going to do? So we can do this segment quickly. Kahmali, do you want to highlight why you don't think third parties is an effective way to change? Like what will you say is better, right? So let's have this quick discussion.
Yeah, I think that for me, it's really just a question of, one, I look at, I look around the world, I think that it would move us, in a better place than where we are now, to have more parties, but we would need a different electoral system is one issue with it, is that our electoral system is designed to create a two-party structure, for one, because we have the first past the post. We don't have representative democracy. So, it's whichever party gets 50% plus one, they win. There's no kind of sort of representational factor. If this party gets 10%, they don't get 10% of the seats in our parliament. We don't have a parliamentary system. So I think that, one, the structure of the system is designed. You couple that with the electoral college, and it's all the way. This is in a democratic system. A voter in, I believe it's like North Dakota, or I forget which state it is, they have about 20 times more voting power than a California voter. Like, this is not democracy. So the whole structure of the system, one, is designed to maintain a two-party system, which is, like we said, really a one-party system at this stage. And then, I look at the structures there, and the problem is with all of these parties that they don't have true, democratic structures, and so they're susceptible to the same sort of co-option, corruption, because in order to win in the system under such a stacked system, you have to make all kinds of sacrifices along the way. And along that way, you're having to try to, in this idea of like doing like a broad-based coalition. One, I look at also people's parties around the world. Like, for instance, we see the People's Party now as one of the new candidates coming out. But people's parties around the world have tried and have become, the austerity parties when they get into, they run more liberal austerity measures when they come into power. These folks that try to paint with too broad a brush are afraid, shy away from terms like socialism, call out the clear boogeyman for who it is. It's capitalism. It's the employer-employee class, and nobody's really, not even, the Green Party isn't even talking about changing that at this stage, because we have to get down to what is going to win. What's going to win in the system. What's going to get us enough to get that 50% or more of the vote. And in order to do that under the current structures that we have with the media that we have, you have to sit there and sacrifice all kinds of principles along the way. And then it's the lack of democratic structures. It's a minoritarian democracy. At the end of the day, it's electing a set of delegates that you go and you put them into power, and then you beg those people to please represent you. And I think that in any situation like that, until we need more direct democracy, and until we get that, we're not, and the other thing is, I don't think that people know how to participate in democracy. Most people, we go to work, the place that we spend the majority of the waking hours of our lives is the workplace. For the majority of adults, the place that we spend the majority of our lives is the workplace. And we go into this workplace and we submit ourselves to totalitarian structures where we have a handful of people that have all the power, all the decision-making power. We have no sort of, democratic say in what goes on around us. And so we don't even know how to participate in democracy. And so in order to do that, you have to really start, in my opinion, from the ground up and start to build democratic structures where people exist. If you tell people, hey, you can go into your workplace tomorrow and you can change and you can have a new structure, you can set up your workplaces, you can structure as a democracy, you can go into, we can create housing where we're pooling community resources, buying up, community land trust, buying up, housing, and then creating democratic housing where the people that live there are the ones that control that. I think that then we start to teach people democracy. Then we have a chance of, actually altering the political system, developing enough power, power to, not power over, through dual power measures of just, democratic workplaces, democratic housing. And then through those measures, then we teach people how to participate in democracy. And then you get a chance to go in there and to change things. But I think that the top down, which is all that, these electoral politics really ultimately is, because of the minoritarian structure of that style of democracy, where it's truly, it's minority, it's not even majoritarian. It's really these handful of people have all the power, and then we're stuck begging these people. I think that a lot of folks went in there with good mindsets and good intentions and got chewed up by the Democratic Party that we otherwise. And I don't think that it would have been any different. I'm being honest. If one of us, if you or I, got elected and put into that system, I think we would have got chewed up and spit out too. I don't think that or one of two things happens. If you're too radical, this system does not elect you. So if you're too radical, this system is designed to not allow you to get into power. One, and then if you happen to be the kind of person that can get there, then ultimately the system works exactly as it's intended, to chew those people up, spit them out, get them to play along, feel like they got to go along to get along, they got to work with their colleagues. And it's my friend, my friend Joe Biden, like Bernie always says, my friend Joe Biden over here. And you start to see these people as friends and not the enemy. And so I think that all those structures that are in place in electoral politics are designed to keep to keep this shit going.
Yeah, that's a very interesting critique, and a lot of people don't realize that's actually one of the reasons why I created and wanted to create a Black Leftist network. One of the main goals, actually, because there are people always like, yo, your take on this is different from Kahmali's. Your take on this is different from CJ. And I'm like, our point is not to be a monolith. The point is to show that there's actually not monolithic Black leftist thought. Like there's actually even debates among Black leftists on things, right? Like this go back in our history. Remember the famous Malcolm X and MLK like debate, like civil debates, right? Where they had disagreements about the path move forward. Like this is like the reality of being a Black radical that a lot of people don't realize. Like even a lot of people who think they like allies, they think we have the same opinion on things, right? Now, like this one of the things that I had to do a lot of on. I had to do a lot of thinking on, and I'm still thinking about like how do I want to move moving forward, right? Because there's actually a very interesting like Marxist-Leninist critique of third parties. Like if you ask a Marxist Leninist theorist, they would say that try to like prop up a third party right now is actually kind of counter-revolutionary. You don't want to waste your time propping up like these up and down structures, right? Like that's their argument. Like, do you really want to waste your time like building up a third party instead of actually building up a horizontal movement like Rome is doing with Torah for the Poor, where he says, I'm trying to build a proletariat army. So in order to start a third party, in order for them to be successful, you gotta like invest a lot of funds. Like the People Party got to raise a lot of funds. The Green Party had to raise a lot of funds. And a critique that you offered regarding horizontal structures, like versus like, is it up down leadership, and you see that a lot, right? And I know there was some activists who criticized the People Party for the same thing. Like, is it up or down? What's the accountability? Like, how much power do activists and the people have to say in the party? And there are a lot of people who criticize the Green Party for not having transparency. And once again, I'm a 2-time Green voter, and actually, and I can critique the Green Party, and there are a lot of people who say fuck the Green Party. I will still never go that far, even with my critiques. I like their platform, and I like a lot of what local Green Party organizers do. So I will never go that far, but there are critiques of third parties, and they rely too much on up-down structure. So do you want to invest resources on that instead of building a proletariat horizontal army that will actually support strikes, for example? Now, I also think I can add nuance in the conversation. And now that you get the last word, and then we can move on to your stories. And the nuance part of this, and the reason why I lean towards third parties, was because I have the ideology. I had the ideology, and I'm still kind of sympathetic to this in some ways. Why I believe we should take all our shots. Where I think right now, and they're like, once again, if you read theory, like a lot of like Marxist-Leninist theory, a lot of these people will shoo the idea this away. And the only thought I would put out there is that if you guys see that the battle that we're fighting right now, the U.S. versus the United States empire, NATO, the national security state, the police state, late stage capitalism. Name one time in human history that we have ever been up against this. There have never, maybe since the peasant uprisings against the Roman Empire, there's never, like the United States Empire is the most powerful and evil entity in human history. So yes, there are people that wrote in books ideas on how to create change, and I have read them. I read them. I read State and Revolution. I read all this stuff, and they are 100% important. But what do we do to fight this never before seen crisis of the United States empire and war on working class people? Because my argument that even in the era of serfdom, throughout the trade, and the Atlantic slave trade, which was unbelievable evil and an unbelievable crisis at the time. But I think the crisis of the corporate state, the military-industrial complex, the national security state, NATO, like the UK teaming up with the US to fight reporters, I think the battle we are facing right now, we have never seen before. So my argument is, let's take that theory and try to like learn from that and see what we can do right now. What can we do right now? Like, that theory is important, but we find something different. We need new people to step up. We need new Fred Hamptons, right? We need new Lenins. Like, we need new Castros. Like, instead of just worshiping everything they said, let's figure out what to do right now. So you know what I'm saying? So back to the point, my thing is like, let's take all our shots, because to me, I think it's embarrassing to vote Democrat. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Like, I think especially if you're black, you vote for Joe Biden, that's a lack of self-respect I can't even imagine. But what do you do if you're just some person who can't be a revolutionary? You know what I mean? Like, not everyone can do what Rome does. Not everyone can do what Feeney does. Not anyone can do what Kahmali does. So imagine if you're just that person who working at your job trying to feed your kids. Can you start a revolution? Or can you vote third party? Like, that's the least you can do, right? So isn't that a nuanced take? Like, you see my criticism of third party, but at the same time, take all your shots. Why not vote for them? You know what I mean? Why, if you have a local third party in your area and you see they're doing good work, like I know local greens in Kansas City that do mutual aid, that do good work. Like, you can have criticism of National Green Party, right? But I know Green Party in Kansas City that are doing good stuff. Why not support that? You know what I mean? So that's my take. Come on, I'll give you the last word, and then you pretty much taking over show from here.
Yeah. No, I think that, I don't really disagree with anything that you said. I think that we really, voting is something that we got to look at as, trust me, if somebody came out and talked about they were running on a platform of, trying to implement something akin to the Marcora law in Italy. It's from the Emilia Romagna region of Italy, where essentially the law says that, if you get together, if you become unemployed, and we just had mass unemployment, instead of giving you your once a week check, under the Marcora law, they will, if you can find nine other unemployed folks to agree to form a democratic workplace, then they will give you a lump sum of your unemployment instead of, you know, sending it out one by one, you know, week by week. They will give you the entire thing up front and allow you in as long as you put it towards forming a democratic workplace as the capital to form that democratic workplace. And if somebody ran on a platform like that, like I wouldn't just vote for them. I would be out there campaigning for them, you know, like and at least helping a little bit, because I think that kind of you know, those kinds of laws will really shift the you know, the entire, you know, economic you know, situation that we're in. So I would absolutely, there are certain, you know, platforms and policies that people can run on that absolutely would cause me to support, you know, and I think that even
hey guys,
on another,
if I know people are to my left on this, but if someone run on defund the police, they got my support. I know some people are done with electoral politics, but if you run it on a local level and you support defund the police, it would be stupid not to support that. And if you betray me, okay, I'm not gonna support you again. Like, to me, it's just that simple, right? But sorry, Kahmali, finish your thought.
No, that's real, because we saw, like, you know, Jamal Bowman run on a platform of defund the police, and we saw how he betrayed, you know, the people. And so, you know, he shouldn't get your vote. He should get, you know, your ire, and you know, people should start to look out, you know, outside that, because and start to look at the structures of the Democratic Party and realize, like, hey, you know, anybody running in the Democratic Party, I don't care what platform they're running on, like, let's be real, you know, the Democratic Party is just not shifting on a lot of this stuff. So we got to be real about that. So, you know, as far as third party is concerned, I do think that, you know, to have somebody in there that has the courage to run on third party, then, you know, then that I do believe in, you know, and I do think that that's a valid, you know, you know, a valid way to sort of approach things. And so I think that we shouldn't give up ground, you know, concede that ground entirely to, you know, to other folks. The electoral system is just about how we prioritize our time, really. At the end of the day,
I agree with that.
Let's not sink, you know, all of our time and energy, because I say this criticism comes from a point of criticizing the work that I was doing, you know, like looking at it, being critical and introspective of my own work, and saying, damn, I was spending so much time in pulling other people into that work, of, you know, thinking that was the theory of change was, okay, all we got to do is gather enough people to go out there and vote on election day, and then that's it. That's us doing the work. And I had to realize over time, and you know, and it wasn't a happy realization for me, but it was just realizing that wasn't enough alone. And so we can definitely go there, pull that lever, especially if there's somebody out there running on issues that matter, in particular doing it from a third party. Then I think that alone shows that you have a courage to run, at least as an independent or third party, shows that you're at least not, you know, beholden to these party machines, because you just don't change. You're not going to go. I just don't believe of, you know, in for this is why, you know, to some extent, you know, I've sort of abandoned a lot of the hope of like changing the system from within. I think that we got to start to work from outside the system, but I think that we can, the way that it works. And Richard Wolff talked about this. You know, I saw somebody mention Richard Wolff in the comments, and Richard Wolff talked about this in a recent discussion where he, you know, he said somebody posed the question to him, you know, what comes after the worker cooperatives? You know, like what's the next step after that? And he, you know, he said, you know, dual power, essentially. He said that it's, you know, what comes next after, you know, after we get all the worker cooperatives, and you know, is the next step forward is to then go into the political system, into the electoral system, and to gain power through that, because, but you got to have first enough capital, enough funding, and you have to have a base that is willing to apply pressure for the policies that we know are going to actually change the system, that are going to fundamentally change the system. And the system that we talk about, because we say the system, and the system that we're talking about is the system of capitalism. And so the change that has to happen is not reforms of capitalism. It has to be a fundamental restructuring of that system. And so I always want to keep repeating to clearly define what that is the employer-employee relationship. And so if somebody is not talking about changing that structure. It's not about moving it from private, employers to state employers. That's not enough of a change. We saw it in Russia, in China. That just doesn't do enough. You just go from private capitalism to state capitalism. And while it's incrementally better, it just doesn't do enough to fundamentally change the system. What we really got to do is to start to, to build up those structures. And it's going to take a while. It's going to be, a long, hard, arduous road. But the other option is that we continue to, pour all of our energy into these other, into getting this next Democrat elected. These national elections are a lost hope. We got to get as many people as possible to, yes, vote their party to shake up the system, and that's great. But we got to make sure that people also know that alone will not be enough, because even if we change that, even if we get a third party elected, they're still getting elected into the same electoral college. All these other systems still remain intact, and so we're going to have to do a lot more work in order to build enough political power to apply the right kinds of pressure. And that's going to take, develop mutual aid networks and then really, building economic power through democratic worker cooperatives. So and I agree with you, that there is no black monolith. And I would love to give Cornel West the final word on that point, because I covered this on my show before. Cornel West making this, I think, poignant point about the idea of a black monolith, and he talks about, you mentioned some names, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, as some of those examples of how black people are not a monolith. And I think that folks really need to get this point across, because there are plenty of black liberals that I'm trying to reach out to. Like, I was a black liberal. Like, I'm trying to reach them because I want to bring my brothers and sisters and siblings, my non-binary siblings. I want to bring them all along with us on this journey, because I know I was there at one point. We've all been there. I think all of us started as liberals at some point along our economic journey. So I don't want to leave them behind in this. We're going to need them. We're going to need the strength in numbers. So here's a clip of Cornel West talking about this idea of a black monolith. I just think it's a good clip to end this on. So I'll play this out real quick.
That means you got a textbook understanding of a classic. That means you haven't dug deep enough. You haven't raised a larger issue. So by the time we zoom in on Booker T. Washington and W.B. Du Bois, in light of the larger four traditions that we've talked about, in light of what it means to be human and modern and American, and we're going to add, as you can see, some other names, because there's never been a moment in the history of black people or any other people that two people speak for the vast majority of the heterogeneity and variety and diversity of a people. Never, ever, ever. This is like going to North Dakota in the 1890s and engaging with our rich indigenous brothers and sisters, with all of that high quality conversation taking place among not just leadership, but the everyday people. And you pluck out one or two leaders and say, this is what was going on in Wounded Knee in 1890, so and so. No, these are human beings who have conversations, who have contestation, who have assumptions and presuppositions. And that's true for anybody, Irish, Italian, black, red, gay, trans, whatever it is, Jewish, Catholic, and what have you. And that's also true for black people. And that's why is that important? Because we saw from the first week, how does it feel to be a problem is to what? Problematize the people's humanity, to view them as a homogeneous blob, which means their individuality drops out and every black person becomes interchangeable and substitutable, which means you only have to ask one what all the rest of them think. We can call that the HNIC phenomenon. What does HNIC stand for? Head Negro in charge.
We know what it really stands for.
It can only be one at a time. Just hunt down that head Negro, speak for all the Negroes. Martin Luther King Jr. speaks for everybody. That's a lie. That's Malcolm X. What did Malcolm X call Martin Luther King Jr.? A European ass licking. I'm on camera. A European licking Uncle Tom. That's what Malcolm X said about Martin Luther King Jr. on television. That's called diversity in discourse. You see the point I'm making? Deep disagreement. By 1965, they're shaking hands. By 1965, right before he dies, they're planning to go together to the United Nations to bring a petition for the violation of the human rights of Black people as a twosome. Doesn't mean they didn't still disagree. So this is very important in terms of the proliferation. Remember I said the first week, once you historicize, once you contextualize, you always pluralize. And once you pluralize, you shatter any homogeneous conceptions of any group. No such thing as the Jewish voice, the Palestinian voice, the Arab voice, the Irish voice. No such thing. Always a variety of different voices wrestling, arguing, conversing.
So that's
Thank you for sharing that clip, man. For real, man. Thank you for sharing that clip. Like, Dr. Cornel West get me fired up, man. And
yeah,
it's so important to talk about how there's not that Black leftist monolith, the Black community monolith. And I said it before, Dr. Cornel West was the guy who broke my Barack Obama cognitive dissonance. Like he was like I cannot stress enough how much that man impacted my politics.
Same.
And the thing is, I'm not even 100% aligned on Cornel West on everything. It just our way of approaching politics, his ways of approaching politics, is so refreshing. Cause think about this, because there have been so many Black people in this space that they are so quick to cancel me or cancel anyone who had disagreements. Like me and Dr. Cornel West have a disagreement on lesser two evils, but we talked about it. And remember, people used to ask me like, "Why do you think Cornel West voting for Biden?" And I was always clear, despite the title of this video, I was always clear, like, bro, I don't even care if people vote for Biden and they have Trump derangement syndrome. I don't care. You can fight your own struggle, and we can have that conversation, that debate. To me, that's not something worth like extremely dividing people over. Like, and that's always been my position on things: is uniting the proletariat, uniting the people against imperialism, against capitalism. So and since we're sharing Cornel West clips, we stumbled into a Cornel West segment. I got one to share because I had the honor of speaking to my teacher, on formerly known as Fred Hampton Leftist. And once again, we talk about this thing. We talk about this. We talk about how Black leftists thought not monolith. Let's share.
Man, if you ever bring him back on, man, I need to be there for that. Like that is my, you know, that.
Yeah,
that
dude,
is
I got you, bro. I got you. I'm gonna invite because I actually invited him to the General Strike Summit. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it because he was booked. But Cornel West, he said he loved the idea and he gave us his blessing, but he couldn't make it. So maybe the International Leftist Summit, we can get him on and talk about Palestinian issues. But man, like, I cannot tell you guys how much he uplifted me because I wrote my article about our Black leftist leaders and Barack Obama. He read my article, dropped the follow, and he came on our show. So it's one of the things where like boutique leftists, they want to talk shit about my work, but Dr. Cornel West, like after Dr. Cornel West gave me some love, like, bro, I'm not gonna let you people tear me down. Like, bro, are you serious? So let's look at this conversation. So we talk about the lesser two evils, and look at Cornel West's response. Like, people always trying to pretend like this disagreement or these small disagreements are like the end of the world, whatever, right? And I'm like guessing, and let's hope this is the clip I think it is, guys, because I just found it. I think this is so hopefully my preface is right, but I still think this would be interesting to watch, right? So let's watch this.
And what I do want to ask you, because as a young activist, and I'm very anti-state violence. I think that's the problem that goes through our community, and you see with the U.S. empire sponsoring as well, Colombia, Israel, Palestine. When I see this state violence, it really tears my heart up, and I really want to do something about it. So my question to you, I 100% respect your stance, and that's why I've never get upset when I see people like disagree with my stance on voting and let's do. I think you gotta vote your conscience. I think you gotta do what you think is right. So what I want to ask you is, like, what do you think is the best mechanism for someone who's a young person of color, someone who's a disenfranchised community that is a victim of policies that people like Liz Cheney support? I mean, Liz Cheney stands up to Trump, but it's like she's still a hardcore trickle down economic welfare.
Hardcore, cold,
Yeah.
callous, indifferent, supporting white supremacist police, Wall Street, the different ugly terrorizing of folk in the West Bank and other places. Absolutely. AFRICOM in Africa, the wrong side in Haiti, dictators rather than the people in Haiti and so forth. You're absolutely right. I would say this about you, though, brother. When I say this in all honesty, man, that in the end, the best of black people has always been what you aspire to, which is be real, be honest, have integrity, decency, honesty, and a willingness to serve. That's the bottom line. You see? And that's crucial, Brother Nick, because if we don't keep this tradition alive, my brother, we're going to end up with all of these sellouts, all of these folk well-adjusted mouth, well-adjusted to injustice. We're going to end up with these folk parading around. They so successful, and they got nothing to do with greatness. Because greatness is always defined in terms of how deep is your love, how much sacrifice you make. What are you willing to pay for justice? What are you willing to pay for your struggle? That's what greatness is.
So I have a lot of clips of our conversation. That was probably, that's still hands down the best. The moment that Dr. Cornel West called me Brother Nick, that's probably my
I wrote that down. I was like, yo, that is my dream to just hear one Brother Kahmali come out of Cornel West. That is my dream. I'll play that clip. I'll have that thing. Like I'll have it on my gravestone, just playing on a loop over and over again. Yo, I love it. I love to hear it. It's beautiful, man. He like, if you've ever seen him go anywhere, he didn't just look at your name and like, he looks people up. He knows about, anytime he has a talk or a lecture, he goes, the first thing that he does, he calls on everybody in the audience, and he remembers people, man. He remembers people, and he will talk about, he'll remember your family member's name and in the struggle, and he'll talk on a personal level. And so, yeah, he's sincere. He's genuine, man. I always talk about stuff like WW, CWD, like what would Cornel West do? You know, I try to be more Cornel Westian in my.
Yeah, I try, when I actually talk to people, like when I talk to voters on canvas, I try to imitate Dr. Cornel West, and that's how, when I talk to older black voters, like that's my mannerisms when I talk to them, and I had a lot of success. I'm gonna share one more. I'm gonna fix. Sorry about. I saw that we had some echo.
Okay, I didn't know if that clip was because of just the clip, because I remember y'all had technical difficulties in the interview, so I didn't remember. Yeah, I didn't know if the echo was because of that or
no. Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna fix it for this next clip. I'm gonna share one more clip, and then we get to your story, and then we wrap up, right? So
yeah, we'll cover my stories. We can. I'll pull them up for the Thursday roundtable, because it's already getting late.
I have one more clip to share you, because I'm gonna wrap it up with this. I'm gonna wrap this up on good vibes. I'm gonna fix the audio issue this time. I'm gonna show you guys the best compliment I ever received in my life, right? So we can end it on some good vibes, right? So, and I'm gonna try and get Dr. Cornel West on, man. He was very supportive of what we're trying to do. So let me
be there for that. Hold up, you're muted, Nick.
Your voices are out there. You see what I mean? Anything I can be and do that would be supportive, because it's a way of supporting the best of our tradition, the highly courageous ones, not the ones who rest with the information that transforms and don't want to lift their voices, you know, but the ones who want to go to South Carolina and say, look, I'm going to talk to some folk. I'm going to put some pressure on some folk. I got some arguments. I got some insights. I got vision. Why are you supporting Clyburn so much when he's tied to big pharmaceutical companies and won't support Medicare for all? We ain't talking about him. We ain't talking about his mama. We love him as a human being. He's wrong as two left shoes when it comes to the needs of black people vis-a-vis Medicare. Y'all be ashamed of himself. See what I mean? That's the fire we talking about. And that's the kind of fire that the great artists have. You see, the great black musicians have. You see what I mean? That's the kind of fire that you get, you know, in an Erykah Badu. That's the kind of fire you get in D'Angelo. I'm talking about your generation. My generation got different kind of manifestations of Luther and Donny Hathaway and Phyllis Hyman. But it's a continuum
of that fire. That's the fire that kept Black folk going in the midst of unbelievable dimness and grimness. That's why we got a joy that the world can never take away.
Yes.
And that's what is at work in your souls and on your shows.
And that's exactly
that may be the greatest compliment I've ever received.
Yeah,
in
I
my
was say it
life.
doesn't get better than that. Doesn't get better than that.
Thank you.
Yes. Like that means so much because like it's through your wisdom is that we make our show, like through your message. Like these are the kind of messages that we want to spread. And as we get bigger, like Jackie brought up Rome, right now we at a very early stage. I mean, we launched last month. But I talked to Rome, I talked to a lot of people. I want to continue to do what I did in a more mutual aid based way. So Rome he's an amazing comrade, another Fred Hampton leftist who's going around and actually putting work for the community, doing real mutual aid events, helping feeding the people. And unfortunately, I don't.
I had to end it on some good vibes. So
That's
funny story.
Man.
Funny story. That interview happened. Once again, we 1 month in. We're 8 months in now, guys. Only 8 months. We're just now getting started, guys. We're just now getting started. That was 1 month in. And I remember I was doing a live stream just talking shit. That's early in the early days of formerly known as Fred Hampton Leftist, right? And then Dr. Cornel West calls me while I'm live on stream. I was live on stream. And I tweeted before, like, yo, I got the Cornel West interview. I don't know the date yet, but we just set it up. He hit me up like, yo, man, I can come on right now. And you do not say no. You do not say no, Dr. Cornel West.
Oh my God.
So I was like, hey, yo, hold up. Yo, we about to set this up. We had tech issues in the beginning.
Yep.
No,
I watched it. I was watching live when y'all did that. You know, when I saw Cornel West on there, come across the notifications, I was like, I'm there. Anywhere he's at, I've watched every little bit of Cornel West that I could take in because he really is. He's true to his he is a radical truth teller. As he describes it, he says that's why he can't run for office and he can't be a politician because he got to tell the truth always. And he can't sacrifice that one drop. And that just doesn't play well in our political system, sadly. In our electoral system, unfortunately. And so no, that's dope. I don't care where I am, what I'm doing. If I gotta go from my cell phone video, like wherever he's at, when he's like, I'm ready, I'm there. Dr. West, say the word, I'm there.
Dude, people saw the reaction. It's still on my old video because he called me up and I literally thought it was someone pranking me at first because I was live. I'm like,
how did he get your phone number? Like
we already had correspondence.
Okay.
Before, but I didn't have his number. Like it one of the things like, yo, I'll call you one day. I'll call you, right? So I was live on air.
Yo,
I'm thinking like, yo, with my number docs and someone trying to prank me, I heard this, and Cornel West sound different on the phone. I just heard some dude like, hey, yo, this Nick here. I'm like, this is what my friends fucking with me right now, bro. Anyway, it was crazy though, but hopefully we go back.
That's wild, man.
He would have joined the Joint Strike Summit, but he was busy. So hopefully we can get him on the International Leftist Summit. I'm aiming maybe towards like February for that. We see. But anything you want to add on? Because I want to end it. I'll wrap it up my part with some good vibes there.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
That's why I keep going. That's why I keep going, man. Like, you guys think I'm gonna let like Democrat operatives tear me down when I have my teacher come on my show and validate my work? Like, just be real. And I know I sound arrogant, but dude, if you're in this space, and I'm telling you guys this right now, this is how I stay sane. Like, I'm literally organizing Joint Strike Summits. I am giving speeches at Medicare for All marches. I'm trying my best to advocate for my community. But when you're in this space, you get people that try to tear you down. You get people that try to tell you you are worthless. That is what the TYT left has done to me. That is what the Hassan left has done to me. They want you to think you are less. They always do this. I see this over and over again. They attack activists. They attack anti-establishment minds. And I was prepared for it. I knew it was going to happen. So in order to survive in this space as a Black man, you have to have that chip on your shoulder. You have to have radical love for yourself. And if that makes me arrogant, I apologize. This is the mindset of people I learned from. Muhammad Ali is my hero. This is what Muhammad Ali said. He said his cockiness and his arrogance may turn off white people. But in order for him to survive in this world, he needs that. And in order for me to survive in this space, I need that. So that's my mindset. If we getting a little real here, but Kahmali, any last thoughts? Any last thing you want to share before we wrap up?
Yeah, definitely. I gotta I got a couple of things that I'll mention here. Before we sign off here. So one, and you just mentioned Muhammad Ali, so that gets me on a track of like a clip that I love to share of Muhammad Ali that I might try to pull up
bro, bro,
as I'm talking.
Yeah, bro.
I'll try.
I'll try 5 favorite people. Like how much Ali play it.
Yeah, right. Like these are the people that I just, their words and they were so far ahead of their time, and it's what Dr. West talks about when he talks about being Black prophetic fire, and in the Black prophetic fire, and that we can't lose that tradition of Black prophetic fire. And so I'll play a clip of Muhammad Ali to wrap things up, but I'll tie it to this clip, this quote from Cornel West. Sorry, I'm stumbling because I'm doing like 3 things right now, pulling up multiple things while I'm trying to talk through it. So real quick,
take your time, bro. We got time. Cool.
So I know I should never make the mistake of reading the comments in our chat ever, because it's always a mistake. But I love seeing the good people and in the love and all that. We get plenty of love in there. But to your point that there's always people that want to try to tear you down and all that sort of stuff. I think that this is a good comment for me to pull up. So Ashura says Kahmali wants to be like Cornel. Nope, he ain't emotional on identity politics. So Asher was laughing at me saying Cornel West isn't emotional on identity politics. Well, I'm gonna read you a little quote here, Ashura, from Cornel West's Black Prophetic Fire. All right, I'm gonna read you a quote that I've read on this show before, and I'll read it again, and then I'll end with some Muhammad Ali as well on this as well. So this idea that one, that I get too emotional, and when I'm talking about Black issues, I'm too emotional about it. One, that is the language of the oppressor right there. You see, Black people getting angry about shit they should be angry about, and you say you're too emotional. It's about these identity politics. Well, this shit matters because Black people are still struggling, suffering. They're at the absolute bottom, right next to indigenous people in this country. And until that shit changes, I'm going to be just as emotional as I am right now. It's also very ableist, if I'm being all the way real. I suffer from mental health struggles, depression, clinical depression, anxiety, ADHD. So when people talk about, oh, you talk too fast, please note that I have ADHD. I am on medication for it. That medication makes me speak a little faster. Deal with it. Okay. These are the Black people that you're getting. We ain't perfect. All right. We struggling. And this is
people. Hey, real quick, people always mock my accent, man. You gotta know I overcame a speech impediment like growing up, and despite that, I had an immense fear of public speaking as a result of a devastating speech impairment that you can still kind of hear, like when I talk, to be real with you guys. But it's through martial arts and through my development as an adult that I gained the self-confidence, and I actually conquered that fear giving speeches. Now I'm on the show, and I know I'm not perfect. So when I see people criticize me on that, I'm like, you guys don't know the struggle that a lot of us go through. But anyway, go ahead, come on.
Absolutely, and that's dope, and thank you for sharing that, because that's really that inspires people that are otherwise might not pick up the mic and give themselves voice.
I don't talk about it a lot, but since we're on the topic,
no, it's that's beautiful. I appreciate you sharing that. So I'll just read this quote, about from Cornel West, speaking highly of Malcolm X. All right, another one of our great Black leaders, and he says, blues is associated with catastrophe, and Malcolm would say over and over again, quote, "You are not going to get something detached and disinterested from anybody who is sitting on the stove and the stove is burning their behind. No, they're going to holler out. They are going to respond deeply and viscerally." He never forgot the Black folk on the stove. He never forgot the prison system, Black folk on the stove, massive unemployment, Black folk on the stove, indecent housing, Black folk on the stove, inadequate health care, Black folk on the stove. And from the very beginning, from slavery to Jim Crow, so that the sense of catastrophe, the sense of emergency, the sense of urgency, the sense of needing to get it out, to cry out, to shout, somehow allowed that fire inside of his bones to be expressed with power and with vision. He never lost that. He never, ever lost that. Okay, so in this idea that it's too emotional and he's not emotional on identity politics, no, stop that. You're misrepresenting one of our great Black prophets. Okay, he is absolutely emotional. Malcolm X was emotional, all right, and on what you would call identity politics. No, to speak about Black pain is not identity politics, all right. And if that makes you uncomfortable, you got to sit with that. You got some introspection to do, all right? And you haven't quite reached the point that I hope and I believe you will ultimately reach, all right? And so, I'm not saying this to tear you down, Ashura. I think that you are on a step along the journey. All right, you're taking steps along the journey that we've all had to step along the journey. But you've got further to go. I've got much further to go. But I know you got further to go, Ashura, to recognize and understand and accept Black pain, Black anguish, all right? And to see it and to hear it and to never question it or to doubt it, all right? Or to try to tear it down in any way, all right? It's not Black people being too emotional. If you're not emotional, there's something wrong with you, okay? If you're not emotional over homelessness, over mass unemployment, over 50,000 people dying every year without healthcare, over Black women dying at a rate 3 times the rate during childbirth, all right? If you're not upset, if you're not infuriated over these things, then you should question your own perspective, all right?
Hey, Kahmali, can I chime in on this as well? Because I love the fire and passion, because there's also as well, the Democrats use model is to use identity. I implore you guys, this is why we got a Black Leftist Network. Please educate yourself. Please actually read our Black revolutionary leaders. Like, if you look at Fred Hampton, if you look at Malcolm X, these people was calling for Black liberation. There is nothing more identity politics than that. Calling for Black liberation is identity politics. Calling for the liberation of the Palestinian people is identity politics. How is that not important? I did a segment on Saturday how I highlighted how the U.S. military is poisoning the Black community. So there's me highlighting the fact that our U.S. military is poisoning our community. Is that me using identity politics? Are we getting? Can we be serious? The real identity politics that was taught from our leftist leaders is how to connect our struggles together so we can unite as a working class proletariat. I connect my struggles with the Palestinian struggles. Identity politics. So what the neoliberals have done, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, and Barack Obama, they weaponize that, and then they propagandize people into thinking identity politics is representation. And honestly, Ashura, you're a dumbass for falling for it, because you understand they bastardize identity politics. How are you going to allow the liberals to destroy one of the most important foundations of what it means to be a Marxist? This is a key point that we make all the time on the International Leftist Coalition. People always say, why are you using the race card? Race is class. Yeah. Race is class. If you do not understand this very basic concept, you need to read a book, because the realities of me as a Black man impacts my class. The police literally steal 60% of wealth via civil asset forfeiture that targets our community. Wall Street literally tanked our wealth and stole our wealth. And you want to tell me that I shouldn't talk about the reality of class and how it affects me as a Black man? They don't want you to talk about that. The Democrats don't want you to talk about that. They want you to look at Kamala Harris and say, we got a Black woman as vice president, so we're good. And you fall for it, Ashura, based on your comment. Sorry, where's the comment that kind of exposed your stuff? Sorry, I gotta go hard, but look at this. Look at your comment here. You said the Democrats model use identity. No, they don't. They use a divisive, false identity politics rhetoric they use to divide workers. So, there's Jim Clyburn that runs here. Oh, we have what's that guy name who just won the New York race? Eric Adams. Eric Adams is Black, so he's pro-Black, even though he supports stop and frisk. That is not identity politics. Ashura, wake up. The Democrats do not represent identity politics. Black leftists do. The Black radicals do. The people who actually call for Black liberation do. Are you attacking the Palestinians? Are you attacking the Haitians? Or when the Haitians say we are being attacked by the Biden administration, when the Palestinians are saying we're attacked by the Biden administration, are you saying, oh my God, you're using identity politics? No one say that about Palestinians. So why do you guys use that language about black people? Yeah. This is the race problem on the left, and we are not afraid to call it out. We are not afraid to make white people uncomfortable. This is the weakness on the race issue, Ashra. So take this as a learning lesson in the debate.
Yep, absolutely. And we can't forget where the term identity politics originated. It originated out of the Combahee River Collective, a group of queer black women. Okay, that is where the term originated, and it has been bastardized by the right and by the Democratic Party. And you have to wake up to that and not let them take and steal and co-opt and bastardize the language that we as radical leftists should be using. All right, we can't let them take those words away from us, take our language away from us. Like the white supremacy took away our language as African enslaved people. All right, this is the work of the oppressor class, all right, to take away your language. And so we cannot give any ground to these people to further take away our language. All right, so do some basic reading, do a quick search online. Where does the term identity politics originate? It's queer black women, all right, that were radical leftists that created that term. All right, so this is a language that we cannot shy away from.
Honestly, man, I told you guys, I'm willing to accept feedback, but if you come at us, you best come correct, because you guys are sounding like you sound like Tucker Carlson. If you sound like Tucker Carlson on these issues, there's a point where you got to pause. If you sound like Tucker Carlson on the issue of cancel culture, on the issue of race, if you sound like the Democrats, if you sound like the Republicans, if you sound like the culture warriors, if you fear-mongering over critical race theory, for example, you need to pause and you need to start reading books. Critical race theory is just critically thinking about race. They don't want to talk about this stuff. They don't want to talk about how our wealth was destroyed by Wall Street. Is that it? When I talk about Barack Obama and how Barack Obama destroyed our wealth, is that a conspiracy theory? That's critical race theory. Are you guys denying that reality? So I'm sorry, we're not going to be the anti-intellectual channel, because there's some people that are like, we want you guys to denounce identity politics. No, that is anti-intellectualism, and that has hijacked the left. Anti-intellectualism has hijacked the left to the point where you guys are repeating Tucker Carlson talking points. You guys sound like fucking Nick Fuentes. You guys sound like fucking Bill O'Reilly on race issues. And you guys wonder why I'm fired up. So no, this is not the space for you guys. I'm gonna be real. Because race is class, and we're here to teach you that. I'm not here to cultivate this audience that think that you can shoot black issues. That's not what we're gonna do. I'm willing to accept criticism, but you best come correct. You best not come to us with Tucker Carlson talking points, saying that Kahmali is using Democrat talking points. Fuck out of here. And then I saw you said, oh, you took my comment out of context. I did not take your comment out of context when you tried to smear my boy Kahmali as a Democrat. I did not take that out of context. So sorry you had to get dragged today, because you got to read, you got to learn, and you were caught busted using Tucker Carlson talking points about identity politics. But I'll drop it there. Any last thoughts, Kahmali?
Yeah. I'll give y'all one more quote, all right, from Lorenzo Camboa Irvin, all right, a black anarchist, all right, radical black leftist here, all right. It's his latest, the definitive edition of his book, and I know it's hard to read there, but it's Anarchism and the Black Revolution, all right. So this is a black anarchist, former member of the Black Panther Party, all right. And when we talk about these things, listen, yes, I promote ideas like black autonomy, and I don't say this as some sort of black separatist or black nationalist. I'm a black anarchist. I don't believe in any nation state, so I don't want any nation building anywhere. All right. And when we talk about black autonomy, it's not to say that we can't have white allies in a movement, or that we can't have build coalition with and be co-conspirators with white folks, brown folks, Asian folks, all every kind of people. All right. I want to build coalition with, I want to build community with. All right. But when we talk about these things, it's to say that black people have been historically crushed in all of these movements, and we still have a problem even in spaces right here on the left. And that's why, the same way that we call out the Democratic Party, because that's the party that's closer, you know, technically closer to us, and the one that we felt like for so long, like we had some pull within. In the same regard, that's why we try to highlight these contradictions amongst the left, because this is the space that we happen to exist within. And it becomes very frustrating when folks that you think that swear up and down that they are strong on Black issues, but then would tell a Black person that they're too emotional when talking about identity politics, what do you mean? It's when I'm talking about Black issues, when I'm talking about Black people and Black issues and Black spaces, you're saying I'm too emotional. All right. And that is, again, the language of the oppressor. And all we're talking about when I'm talking about this, when I'm talking about Black autonomy, is not to say I want Black separatism. Okay. I'm a realist. That's not what I imagine will ever exist in this world. What I'm talking about is allowing, and you're a true ally. You'll know you're a true ally when you don't question this, when you look to this and you say, you know what, I get it. You know what, white people have historically, you know, just based on color of skin, have lost the trust of Black people all across the board. All right. And so there's a lot of work to be done. And until white leftists start to do, and white and brown and other, you know, non-Black leftists start to really catch up with this and realize and acknowledge this, because I can look at indigenous people and say, I don't want to have them assimilate into Black culture. I want them, and this is the embracing individuality, not individualism. I don't care. I don't want people to be, stuck and isolated all alone, but I want to embrace and celebrate the differences in people. Okay. And we should celebrate. We shouldn't want to have Black people to just assimilate amongst, any group. I don't want that to happen to indigenous people. I don't want that to happen to Asian people. I don't want that to happen to white people, and whatever ethnicities they happen to be. Okay. What I'm talking about is just allowing Black people to have the space, a safe enough space. Yes, a safe space. I know I'm talking about safe spaces. I'm such a liberal. Have a safe space where we can build our community, where we can build up our dual power strong enough so that when we come amongst the larger group into these, spaces where we're amongst white leftists and we're working to coalition build, where we can feel like we have enough strength, where we haven't lost sight of our culture, where we have built up enough dual power so that we can have a voice within these movements. Because otherwise we get, this feeling, and trust me, Asher, I'm not trying to pick on you. This happens every stream I'm on, every video I've done. I get a whole bunch of comments talking about, oh, I'm too focused on identity and this, that, and the next thing. When all I'm saying is, I'm never saying, hey, fuck white people, go kill white, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, coalition building. But in order for Black people to coalition build, we first have to build up our own communities first. And like Nick said, he highlighted all the times that our communities have been put under attack in this country. And so we're just looking and to support us, to be an ally, is to look at that and say, I'm going to do what I can to support, to hang back, to only, ask for how I can support, how I can help, to not feel like I need to go in there and into Black spaces and be a voice in that space, but just to kick back and listen and just hear us out, right? Just give us a chance. Let us speak, right? So here's Lorenzo Camboa Irvin, a Black anarchist that is not about, trying to dominate over anybody in any way, shape, or form, talking about Black autonomy. And he says, nobody can truly speak for us and fight in our name. Black autonomy means independence of thought, culture, and action. We are not racial separatists or ethnic purists, but we must be sure that we are strong enough to insist on our politics, leadership, and respect within any broader universal movement. We have been sold out, left out, betrayed, and tricked too many times by internal racism inside majority white coalitions and movements. Black voices matter. Okay. And as soon as you understand that, and you don't try to talk down, condescend, paternalistically tell, a Black person here speaking out of anguish and Black pain and anguish. I am one of the masses of suffering Black folks out there, and we're just, I get the benefit of a platform like this. And so of course I'm going to use the benefit of a platform like this to speak, to try to bring along all the other folks that I know that are suffering and struggling out there. And once we bring together our community and we build up our community, then of course the very next step after that is to start to build broader coalition outward. And along the way, we got plenty of allies that will be amongst us and not feel like they got to paternalistically speak down and demean and diminish or trivialize our pain and anguish. And those are the real allies. And those are the folks that I will gladly be in community with. And I am in community with white, Asian, Latino folks from all, all different stretches of the world and walks of life. And they are the real allies when they're not trying to talk over Black people, not trying to shout us down, not trying to tell us that we're getting too emotional. That's what allyship looks like. Right. And so, just keep doing the work, because I want you to keep listening, keep, you got to listen to Black voices. And this is the only network that's doing something like this. So please continue to listen to folks like Nick, to folks like, everybody, in this network, and hear these different voices and recognize that.
Let me say this.
Please.
And then we wrap this on, because I want to end on the Muhammad Ali.
Wrap it up. Yes, let's end it here.
I know people want to see that, and we can wrap it on the Muhammad Ali video so we can end on some good vibes.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
But this is the last thing. This is the last quick thing I would say on the topic, because I do want to be fair to our Shura. And once again, I read feedback, but I mean, I'm a hothead. You know what I mean? And you guys know I'm loyal. If I feel like you're not being fair to my boy, man, I'm gonna come after you. So to be fair to our Jura, he's Black. And when I look at his comment, I still think what I say is important, because even if you are Black, you shouldn't be repeating Tucker Carlson talking points. I saw he said earlier. Once again, I was trying to be fair to our Jura. And I want to, even because we call him out, I even wanted to talk to the guy, because just to be fair, right? Because I don't want to misrepresent what he said. He'd be like, I don't even watch Tucker Carlson. I'm Black, so I am trying to be fair. I'm trying to be fair. But even if you're Black, that's not a shield. You know what I mean? So even if you're Black and you're repeating the talking points regarding identity politics, that's easy. It's easy to repeat what Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan say about identity politics, because they fall for the liberal talking points. What we are saying, what I am imploring you to do, is please don't fall for that. Trying to find the Black liberation, the Marxist critique of an idea, and a Marxist way of approaching the idea. That's why I did, because I remember when I was younger, I used to fall for it too. I used to be like, yeah, I don't think you should use identity politics. I used to say the same thing, man. But dude, if you're actually serious about Black liberation and real solidarity, when you read how our old revolutionary leaders wrote about identity politics, it's about connecting these issues together, not about how the Democrats laid it out. And I implore you to think about it that way. So that, to be fair, I want to try to be fair with you here at the last moment. But anyway, let's get to the Muhammad Ali video.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to the Muhammad Ali. I just got to take 2 minutes, because I see this over and over again, and I want to end this here, I hope, and I will come and I will clip this clip that I'm about to say, because I'm so tired of seeing this in our comments, and I'm going to pull up a few of them, because it's a handful of comments here that have tried to point this out. Here's one. No, because Kahmali, you use the word Black over and over again and never get to the structural breakdown. Okay, I never get to the structural breakdown. They say I never get to the structural breakdown. They say I'll pull up another one. Give me 1 second. I'm just pulling up. They say, Finney says, how do you do that, Kahmali? I'm still waiting for the day you actually go into that. Okay. So here I'm gonna go in. This is becoming sophistry. Okay. So ready. I'm gonna go into it, and please, please don't say ever again that you don't hear this, because this is literally what I named a channel. Okay, the Radical Democracy Show, where all I did was talk about development of dual power through the development of democratic worker cooperatives. Okay, and I talk about starting that struggle and starting to build that dual power. Okay, which, please, I'm not making these terms up. Okay, this is stuff that has been talked about, discussed in many other contexts. Look at the panel that I hosted at the General Strike Summit. I hosted 2 panels. Okay, 2 panels on the day 2, part 2. Okay, they were worker cooperatives and dual power. All right. And I spoke with all kinds of people there, multiracial group. That was a very diverse group that we spoke to. All right. But my whole focus has always been development of dual power through democratic worker cooperatives. And how am I doing that? What is the structural change? That is changing the structure of the economic system that we exist within. That is changing capitalism. Capitalism is defined by the employer-employee relationship. And so what I'm saying is, when you become truly anti-capitalist is when you do work to dismantle the employer-employee relationship, okay? And how is Kahmali doing that work? Where is Kahmali ever talking about that? One, it's all that I talked about on my program for 18 months, all right? And I've continued that strain when I came to, FHL and now Revolutionary Blackout, okay? And how am I doing that work? Behind the scenes. Trust me, we talk about this. I won't go into it as publicly, but I think that it's okay to say we are working on developing our media organization as a democratic worker cooperative. I have done the work and behind the scenes to do as much as I can while working a full-time job under a capitalist system that because of sheer force after being unemployed for 2 straight years. Okay, I've finally gotten back into it with a mountain of student loan debt crushing me, housing insecure. Okay, I've still come into this space and struggled with a monolithically Black group to develop dual power through building what I would believe is the first democratic worker cooperative in left media. Okay, so that is revolutionary struggle. That's what we are partaking in every single day. That's what you might not see behind the scenes, but we certainly talk about it. I certainly rail about it every single chance that I get, every place that I make an appearance. I'm talking about building power through democratic worker cooperatives, and I'm not just talking the talk, I'm walking the damn walk. Okay, I'm practicing what I preach, and I'm doing this work behind the scenes and in front of your eyes. All right, so I'm not just telling you to go do it, I'm leading by example. All right, so to the idea that Kahmali, why don't you ever talk about the structural? I do talk about the structural. I very clearly define what capitalism is. I don't talk in vague terms about the system or structural racism. No, I talk about what that structure happens to be. It's the employer-employee relationship, and I'm doing everything that I can in every space that I've ever existed in to try to dismantle that hierarchical dominant relationship and to move past a capitalist system. So please don't question the work that I do. Now, I will end with Muhammad Ali, answering the question, about Black autonomy. Essentially, here's Muhammad Ali speaking on Black autonomy, and just why, to this idea of not all white people, not all white leftists, or and Asher, you say you're Black. This happens to our people, all right? This happens to Black folks. It happens to brown folks. There are always folks within the group. You have to start to think with a revolutionary mindset where you're moving beyond, not just moving from the below to the above, but dismantling these power structures entirely. I'm just pulling up the video while I ramble a little bit here. But here we go. This is Muhammad Ali responded to the question, when folks say, not all white people, not all white leftists. Here you go.
There are many white people who mean right and in heart want to do right, but there are so few. If 10,000 rattlesnakes was coming down that aisle now, and I had a door here I could shut, and in that 10,000, 1,000 meant right. 1,000 rattlesnakes didn't want to bite me. I knew they were good. Should I let all these rattlesnakes come down, hoping that 1,000 get together and form a shield? Or should I just close the door and stay safe?
I think that
you understand? The Viet Cong are not all bad, but America's still dropping bombs. In Hiroshima, the Japan wasn't bad, but she still dropped the bomb. In Korea, they weren't bad, but they still dropped the bomb. So now I'm going to forget the 400 years of lynching and killing and raping and depriving my people of freedom, justice, equality, the first fired, last hired, the lowest of low, last respected. And I'm going to look at 2 or 3 white people who are trying to do right and don't see the other million trying to kill me. I'm not that big of a fool, and I'm not going to deny it. I believe everything.
So there, I will go out there, I will build coalition, and we will do all that work, and I do all that work, and I grew up in majority white spaces and continue to try to struggle. And the white folks that I'm around, I'm telling you, they don't shy away. When I say, if I get up tomorrow and I say I can't stand white people sometimes, one, my mom was, I'm done saying that shit. The white people that I'm around, man, they don't bat an eyelash, man. They're right along with me. Like, you know what, man, I get it. I get why, that distrust has been sown. And it's not racist for Black people to say that, because prejudice means that you're prejudging people without any kind of reasoning. No, Black people have a whole bunch of reasons. We got 400 years of reasons why they might distrust. And so what we need in this space, and this is the point that I want to end on. why I do this, why I talk about this so much is because I want the left to grow strong. I want the left to be able to become a mass movement. And in order to do that, I believe I only see that happening as a minority-led movement, because it has to be marginalized people that lead that movement. And the reason that I talk about this so much is because I know that there are so many Black people out there that are skeptical of leftist spaces because of these very things. When they come into these spaces and they talk about these things, there's so many people that still get defensive largely because of ego, and they think that it's somehow a personal attack on them. No, when I talk about whiteness, I'm talking about the structure of whiteness, not some individual's whiteness. Of course not. Some person that didn't just happen to be born into that. It's not them that I'm talking about. It's the structures of white supremacy that we're talking about.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So regarding the Muhammad Ali clip, because we got to wrap up here soon. I gotta go.
Yeah.
I probably gotta get into it another day, but I went through a Muhammad Ali exception. Like, anyone know I'm a martial art nerd. I learned so much from Ali. He influenced so much of my style. Like, I'm back training to Muay Thai now, so I feel good, man. But that revolutionary style of thinking, like Muhammad Ali, was lost. I still see it lost among our Black athletes of the day. The people, like the Black athletes we have now, are reactionaries like Herschel Walker. Running from Georgia Senate. You guys see the fall from grace? We went from Muhammad Ali to Herschel Walker. Wow. like that's we got Lil Wayne now, the people who adore Trump, right? Like, so we have and I'm not even talking about just the Republican Black people. Like, we have people like P. Diddy and 50 Cent doing vote or die campaigns for fucking the Democratic Party. It's like the fall from grace is crazy. Muhammad Ali has so much impact on my development. Maybe we can do like a Muhammad Ali stream one day, because I got so many quotes. Because I went to a point where I was like, I watch all his fights. Like, you guys don't understand when we say he is the GOAT, like, he is the GOAT. Like, no one sacrificed with this man. Like, he lost 3 years of his fucking prime and still defeated every heavyweight boxer during the golden age of heavyweight boxing. When the best period of heavyweight boxing of all time, he lost 3 years of his prime, withering away in a cell because he had an anti-imperialist take. I'm not going to kill these people. I'm not going to kill these people for a capitalist imperialist war. Guys, you guys have no idea the impact this man had. But anyway, I'll talk about it another day. Thank you guys for checking us out. I know we went a little long today, but you know how it is. We're here to make you guys uncomfortable. we got a show tomorrow. I'm sure you guys are going to be uncomfortable for the International Leftist Coalition tomorrow. Me, Josana Vaz, Peter B, Kareem Batesh, Saul Rod. We're gonna make you guys uncomfortable tomorrow as well. So thank you guys for checking us out. Any last thing you want to plug, Kahmali?
No, everybody better watch the International Leftist Coalition. I literally be there like with a notebook taking notes during that shit. It is,
I just learned, man.
They take you to school. It's a beautiful thing. Check that out. Josana, Dr. Kareem, Peter Beatty, Asal is amazing. Is Asal going to be back tomorrow?
Yeah, I think Saul join tomorrow.
Okay, that'll be dope. Love it. Everybody check that out. What time is it at?
I think it's at. I think we may have to push it back an hour. Actually, we may have to push it back an hour for normal time, because I got Muay Thai on Tuesdays now. So like, Tuesday gonna be tough, man, because I'm gonna be on Muay Thai. I gotta immediately jump on International Leftist. So be patient with me the first Tuesday. So maybe because I might push it back to 10 p.m. Eastern time. I'm tired. So 10 p.m. Eastern time. I'm thinking, so it'd be a late stream. We're gonna talk about Josana is like the host of the International Leftist Coalition. We're gonna talk about Afghanistan, right? And you guys know Jim Crow Joe at it again. I mean, we're gonna talk about the drone strike deaths in Afghanistan. We're gonna talk about the increase of sanctions that Biden is doing. Again, sanctions are an act of war. This is the person you guys voted for. This is the lesser of two evils. His United States regime is causing massive death and destruction right now. No one's talking about it. We will tomorrow. But anyway, sorry, I went long enough. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.
All right, peace, y'all.